Being 7 o'clock, we'll call the meeting to order. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mayor Bosmus.
Here.
Commissioner Baker.
Here.
Commissioner Collins.
Here.
Commissioner Gary.
Here.
Commissioner Miller.
Here.
Commissioner Talentino.
Here.
Commissioner Twardy.
Here.
Okay, we're all here. Please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, thank you very much. Little housekeeping. Those with cell phones, if they would please put them on vibrate or turn them off, we'd appreciate it. Being the beginning of another year, I'd just like to again tell the City Commission that cell phones are not allowed to be used by commissioners during the meeting. It's a violation of the Open Meetings Act. So we'd appreciate if you want to put them in a purse or put them in your pocket. That's not a bad idea either. Okay, at this point, we are down to item number C, public comment. At this time, anyone wishing to speak on an agenda item, if you'd like to let us know, raise your hand, please. If you'd like to speak on an agenda item, we'll, the assistant city manager will take your name, and then when we get to that agenda item, you'll be given a chance to speak on it. Is there anyone in the audience that'd like to speak on an agenda item that's not already on the agenda as an individual? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda, please.
Under the consent agenda, 1, approval of the City Commission meeting minutes of December 17, 2018. Item 2, acceptance of the Police and Fire Pension Board meeting minutes of November 7th. Item 3, appointment of Patricia Olson to the Historic Development Commission to fill the balance of a term to expire December 31st, 2022. Item 4 is appointment and reappointment to the Seal Estate Board of Trustees. Item 5 is appointment of Jennifer Dutton to the Housing Commission to fill the balance of a term to expire July 1, 2023. Item 6 is approval of changes to membership of the Police and Fire Pension Board. Item 7, approval of the MERS Healthcare Savings Program Participation Revised Agreement for the Clerical Unit. Item 8, acceptance of the Local Government Retirement Systems Annual Reports Form 5572. Item 9, authorization of a renewal lease agreement with LSSU for 609 West 4th Avenue. Item 10, authorization of an updated Township Ambulance Service Agreement with Bruce Township. Item 12 is from the Downtown Development Authority, renewal of Compulus parking software contract. And item 13 is approval of the consent agenda items as presented.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there a commissioner that would like something further explained on the consent agenda? Otherwise, Commissioner Twardy.
I so move that we approve the consent agenda.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Are there any questions? Roll call, please.
Mayor Bosmus.
Yes.
Commissioner Baker.
Yes.
Commissioner Collins.
Yes.
Commissioner Gary.
Yes.
Commissioner Miller.
Yes.
Commissioner Talentino.
Yes.
Commissioner Twardy.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Item E, special orders of, no items under special orders of business. Item F, communications. 1 from the WODA Group, update on Osborne Commons site plan revisions.
Okay, thank you. City Manager Turner.
Thank you, Mayor and Commission. We have with us tonight Mr. Craig Patterson with the WODA Group to present an update to the community and commission regarding proposed revisions to the Osborne Commons site plan.
Okay. Where is Craig? Evening, Craig.
Good evening, Commissioners, Mayor. Thank you for the opportunity to give an update. Happy New Year, and I love all this snow.
So do we.
Leave coming in down, you know, all that piled up on the interstate. Anyhow, today I'm here to give you an update on Osborne Commons. As you can see there, since the last time we've met, we've purchased the ground. We are at 40% plan level. And we think we will be submitting 100% plans in March with the permit application. There has been a change since the last time we we're here, and that is there was a change to the actual location of the building. Just in sum, I wanted to give you the top line on the project. We talked about this before. I think the next to the last bullet, land purchased, our investor is going to be Korea City Real Estate, Inc. They've invested a number of our projects in our 15-state portfolio, and we believe we will be able to start construction as soon as the snow is gone, assuming that we get our permits. What's most important is a change in the building location. Here you will see the footprint of the new building, which is in the corner, in the northwest corner. Everything is the same. The difference is we do not have as much building stretching to Ridge as we originally had, and the building stretches eastwardly toward Ashman Alley, and the reason for this change are twofold. First of all, there's a 7-foot variation in the elevation from Ridge to Maloney, and that creates some real challenges with our infrastructure, with our utilities. And second of all, there was a discovery in our phase 2 of a potential environmental problem, which means that we want to disturb as little of the soils as we possibly can, and hence the reason why in order to even out the building that we had originally, which was up near Ridge, as you remember, a wing of it up near Ridge, and it went catty corner to the northwest to the corner that exists here, in the corner of Osborne and Maloney. The reason why we had to make all these changes was the elevation and the potential disturbance of a hydrocarbon plume that was found in some of the samples when we did the phase 2. This is what the new elevation will look like on the west elevation. A couple things I want to point out. First of all, what you see on the corner is the commercial space, which still remains at 1,920 square feet. What you see...
Craig, excuse me. You know that little arrow that you had? It would help maybe
right
people
here, I'm sorry.
listening at home. If you could just... There you go.
Okay, so right here is what we're talking about as the commercial space on the corner. Up above it is 2 floors of residential and then a rooftop patio that can be used by residents and their guests. Along here would be the Maloney Alley facade, and what we have done with the suggestion of staff is we have put an entrance down here on Maloney that is pretty well lined up with the promenade or the pathway that leads to Prospect and right by the subway there. So the idea here is to open up the entryway to the main street in Sault Ste. Marie for our tenants, as well as still capitalize right here on the corner of Maloney and Osborne the way that we originally had proposed. And at this end down here would be our community space with a pocket park like we originally proposed, and then right here is the retaining wall of rock that is there that leads to the laundromat on the corner. This gives another view of the multiple views that here is what I just showed you from more of an aerial view. This is the facade as it would be seen from Maloney, and here is the entrance that I mentioned that would allow visitors and the tenants to go right out to the main street by the subway and toward the Sioux Locks. And this is what the west elevation looks like that I just showed you. This is, these are the elevations as they look from Ridge. This is where the parking lot would be. The M Bank is over here. The laundromat is right here. Our parking lot would be here, and on the landscape plan, which I must have skipped, the site plan, and I'll go back, you'll see how the landscape buffers are there to kind of conceal some of this from the M bank and our property. This would be the Ashman Alley elevation. And let me back up if I can. I jumped over my site plan. Didn't spend enough time on it. There you go. So these are the landscape buffers that we were talking about that would come along here. There's, we had to get an easement agreement with the laundromat that has been executed because some of their property, their pavement is encroaching on our property, so we're going to build a landscape buffer here. Here's the park that I described, which you've seen before in the previous elevations. On site, we will have 74 parking spots, and then we're also in negotiation to take 10 of the parking spots here at the M Bank to give us additional parking. So with that, I can go to any slide you like and answer any questions.
Thanks, Craig. Can you leave the picture of the, that one? So you can have one entrance into the,
Right.
going north off of Ridge?
Well, the one entrance
Is that
on
coming,
Maloney
going?
is right here,
Right.
and then the commercial is here, our community is there.
Is that a community, can you come in from the community entrance too? Off of Osborne?
That is the plan, to come on off of there so that there would be access off the street, yes.
Okay, so people could come
Come right into the office.
Okay.
That may not be reflected in this completely, but when we go to the planning commission, we would have that finalized.
Is there a buffer for the floor level apartments so that people walking by on the street aren't right next to your window? Or is it set back?
It is set back some, and there will be some landscaping along there, but generally what we do is we provide a way for them to be shielded so that people can't look in. This would be similar to what we did in Menominee at the Lloyd House and the big department store. We had the big plate glass windows that we had to maintain from the original. We had 3 or 4 units right on the ground floor. Mark, what did we put in there for that?
The historical, we had to maintain the glass, so it was, the drapes or lines on the inside.
That's what we would do. We would,
Oh, okay, thanks. Anyone else? I'm sorry. Commissioner Baker?
Okay, so I have a few questions. One, I particularly don't care for the layout of this new one, based off of the fact that it's so tight up against the alley. My concerns are with that, one are the restaurants and bars and being that close. It was nice to have them offset on the back side of it, just because with the events that we do downtown and interfering past a certain time and noise ordinances and things like that. Another huge concern would be snow removal. I don't know if you've obviously seen the snow and how much we have, and it's tight back there in the alley already for snow removal. And with not having so much of a setback, what's your game plan there for the snow removal and how?
well, we're going to have to transport snow off just like anybody else at this point in time. I mean, I don't know how the city plows Maloney.
Yeah, the city plows the alley, so.
And I'm not sure how they, how quickly, how fast they move down through there, but.
Well, they move very quickly. It's one of the first things I feel like I've never had an issue with it. But as far as the plowing and if it comes by, I mean, you're talking every day that would they be buried in, like the overflow of, because right now, if you drive down there, you see how high the banks are.
Sure,
and,
sure.
And how far they move over to that side, you know, especially at this point. So what problems would we have with that? And then how much parking did you lose with the new?
I don't know that we lost parking. We were always had enough parking here in order to meet the city code.
Right.
And what we did was, I think we've had varying parking numbers here, but when we submitted this to MISTA, they wanted us to increase the amount of parking, not on site, but made sure that we had enough parking to go 1.5. So we're seeking to get another 23 parking spaces.
Now, in one of the very first meetings when I met you, one of my questions as far as parking were, and I believe your response was that you would consider allowing employees to park in your parking area, since they were going to be there for like an 8-hour shift. You didn't want.
There are some parking spaces. We have 74, but we're only required to have 65, and there's some spillover here for the employees. It could be part of this 1,920.
So that's still possible. Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? Commissioner Gary.
I just had a couple questions, and just as a disclaimer, USDA Rural Development, who I work for, has business with WODA, but I think in previous discussions we have determined that it's not relevant, and I can discuss, and you have not applied to us for any financing that I know of as of, okay. So just a couple of points I wanted to make or ask maybe so that you could explain to the commission and to the general public. You said something about the elevation. I'm assuming you're talking about the sewer utilities so that things will flow the right direction, or is that a...
Well, we still haven't locked in whether the sewer connection is going to be on Osborne or Ridge. But the problem with Ridge is because of the increased elevation to tie in, that we could have a frost issue. Because I think it's very close to the 3-foot frost line, but my understanding in this city, you got to go down 7. And that's the real challenge.
And then the other thing I guess you could explain maybe is that phase 2 includes borings, where the phase 1, the environmental that you do before is just paperwork. So you really didn't, just so that we know that you aren't changing the plans, playing around, bait and switching it. And then the other thing I'd like you to explain, if you could, is the original drawing that we had was very conceptual in nature, and until you get into the actual engineer drawings and plans, there's nothing that really stands fast until you are...
Well, that's true. Let me address, there's been a lot of money put into the civils because of the challenges on the site. And then we got this late breaking news that the phase 1s, which identified some potential wrecks, recognizable environmental conditions wrecks, said that there could be an underground storage tank and then things like that. And we factored in what it would cost to remediate, et cetera. But then they found this, they found some traces of this hydrochlorinated solvent that supposedly came originally from the, it wasn't a laundromat, I guess there was a dry cleaners there. We have found in the phase 2 now that that at the required level we can build, but we don't want to go down below the 5-foot level, just because if we go below 5-foot level and hit those items, then the project could be in jeopardy. So that's why we think it's best to put it here for 2 reasons.
And the price and everything else haven't changed. You're just the look and feel of it a little bit have changed.
Well, we're still at a $13 million investment. There have been some material changes that we have requested that the staff consider, but we are a combination of masonry, and we do have a high-grade vinyl that we're putting on in different types of locations on the building. because we initially started with hardy plank, but we have found that hardy plank doesn't weather well in this region, and our suppliers can't warrant it the way that we want to warrant it.
Okay. Commissioner Tuardi?
Thank you. Yeah, that was going to be one of my questions. Like, have you changed any of the materials? But vinyl, even though, because we haven't passed our form-based code yet, and I really would have liked for us to have passed that, because I feel like with any revisions, it would be protecting us from any changes. And I would like you to keep in mind, yeah, thank you, that form-based code is very close. And, this is going to be coming right around that, the approval of that. So I'd like to have you keep in mind that form-based code. Another thing that, I think one of the things that Commissioner Baker was saying, and I know that Mark grew up here, and so I am also kind of concerned about your first floor residents getting buried under snow, being swept onto their windows from snowplows going by. How fast they go down that alley, it's 25 usually, I would think. But at 25 miles an hour, you can skirt some pretty good snow, and you might even lose some of your landscaping. So you might want to really consider, take Mark's word in, because he grew up here. He knows how much snow we get, so they should be calling him in when they're really looking at setbacks and what kind of foliage do you want to put really close to the alleyway. But it's your building, so I just want to make sure that that you're using high-quality materials that are going to fit in line with our form-based code that we're going to be passing here soon.
Well, I appreciate those questions, and Mark is going to be our field supervisor on site, and he's been very much involved in the planning. But I'm glad this came up about snow, because I've been in other Michigan cities, and sometimes DPW really rips. And on these tight zero lot lines in our downtowns up here, there's got to be caution as to how you design and make sure your windows are up high enough and you got the space. So we're going to take another look at that. We'll go back to the team and we'll make sure we've evaluated it thoroughly, so we make sure that we're not breaking up vegetation, things like that. Form-based code, I appreciate you bringing it up, because the staff was very clear, and Justin from the DDA, look, we're very close. What can you do to make sure that you try your best? And I can say that we went through the list, and there are 14 criteria or targets, and it appears that 13 of the 14 that apply, there are 2 no's, so really it's 12. Let's see if I got my math right. It's really 11 of the 14 we're meeting. 2 of them are not applicable. And so part of it is the treatment up on the band across the cornice. We're going to do that. We've got material the staff says is acceptable. Staff and Justin were highly involved in material selection that we changed to make sure or gave their recommendation as we've complied as much as we can.
Okay.
So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Well, thank you for the presentation.
Thank you
Good
very
luck
much
with
for the opportunity.
Going
We look-
forward.
Yeah, as much as I like this snow, we look forward to an early melt so we can get started.
Thanks, Craig.
Thank you.
Okay, item G is the city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. Item A under the City Manager's report is an update regarding the annual goal-setting process, research, and improvement recommendations. As commissioners are aware, the City Commission took action during its November 5th, 2018 regular meeting to direct City Administration to review the city's existing annual goal-setting structure relative to goal-setting structures used by other local units of government. Subsequently, the City Manager examined goal-setting and planning models utilized by approximately 20 communities. Those localities researched represent a broad geography of the United States, ranging from Washington, Ohio, Minnesota, Florida, Iowa, Mississippi, and California, as well as others. Not every municipality conducts an annual or even intermittent goal-setting exercise. Following are noteworthy findings generated through this research. First, it is common for governing bodies to use a professional facilitator to conduct goal-setting sessions. The facilitator is not an employee of the local unit and typically focuses on building consensus amongst the members of the governing body. During exercises, less emphasis is placed on reviewing existing reports and more emphasis is placed on guiding elected officials as well as members of the management team to establish achievable goals with maximum buy-in. Interestingly, the Municipal Association of South Carolina suggests professionally facilitated goal-setting sessions produce better results. Second, the means through which goals are formally established vary amongst researched municipalities. In a number of instances, the members of the governing body simply held dialogue in order to establish goals. In other instances, the members of the governing body used a ranking or prioritization system to establish goals, either manually or electronically. Third, in virtually every municipality researched, governing body members receive background information prepared by appointed staff. Frequently, this information comprises a large packet of information. In one instance, prior to goal setting, members of the governing body were asked to complete a questionnaire, the results of which were used to inform the process and garner consensus. Fourth, the duration of goal-setting exercises reviewed ranged from approximately 45 minutes to 2 full workdays. Overall, the majority of goal-setting sessions were completed within 1 working day. Fifth, as expected, all goal-setting sessions were conducted in an open meeting. It was not uncommon, however, for sessions to occur in a retreat format or at a location outside of City Hall. The presence of a facilitator increased the frequency of sessions occurring outside of a traditional meeting room. And sixth, the specificity of goals established by the governing body varies significantly. As expected, larger communities tend to focus on broader concepts and smaller communities tend to focus on more narrow goals or specific projects. The use of objectives to benchmark the completion of goals was not uncommon. Based upon a review of the information as well as general dialogue amongst members of the management team, City Administration respectfully recommends the City Commission consider implementing the 2 following changes to the existing goal-setting process. First, it is proposed that City Commissioners provide goal concepts to the City Manager 2 weeks prior to the annual goal-setting session. City Administration would conduct a preliminary analysis to determine whether existing staff levels and finances are sufficient to reasonably achieve conceptual goals. This preliminary analysis would not result in a recommendation regarding an individual goal. Rather, it would work to determine the feasibility of accomplishing a goal. This analysis may further provide City Administration with time to determine how existing operations and initiatives may be impacted by proposed goals. If this practice were to be adopted for the upcoming goal-setting session, goal concepts would be requested by January 28th. Second, it is proposed that a professional facilitator be used to conduct the annual goal-setting session. The facilitator would focus on exercises as well as goal identification and adoption through consensus building. The facilitator would further work with the City Commission to establish a work plan or a detailed roadmap of how each goal will be achieved, recognizing specific action plans may change based on new information or research. Goal prioritization techniques may also be utilized to distinguish between goals of very high importance and goals of moderate importance, and further to delineate between perpetual and time-limited goals. It is estimated the cost for a facilitator to go through the entire goal-setting process may cost no more than $3,500. It should be noted that the model presented represents one possible format for how goal setting can be constructed. Of course, the goal setting process can be modified to the preference of the City Commission. In the above examples, it's anticipated that less time would be devoted to reviewing previously examined reports, more time would be devoted to fine-tuning guiding visions, about equivalent amounts of time would be devoted to reviewing accomplishments on existing goals, and more time would be devoted to group exercises, as well as establishing and prioritizing goals for the upcoming year. Accordingly, it would be my recommendation that the City Commission accept the report and recommendations as prepared. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you. Certainly, speaking for the Commission, we thank you for the research on that. Very well done, I think. Great information. And at this time, I'd like to go to Commissioner Gary.
I agree. It's great information, and I think that I have a lot of faith in the process that we have, and it's always good to improve it a little bit. Just one question I have is on the 2-week notice, that won't preclude us from bringing goals forward that we didn't have vetted 2 weeks prior, correct?
I wouldn't think so, but
That's correct, Commissioner. It could be certainly at the commission's pleasure. The feasibility assessment is geared towards perhaps goals that are more impacting of the governmental structure of the city.
Also, I'd just guess say, I'm kind of cheap, but I didn't know it would be up to $3,500 for a facilitator. But I know you'll shop well. With that, I make a motion to accept the report and recommendations as prepared by the city manager.
Support.
it's been moved supported. Are there any questions?
I have a question, Your Honor.
Sure. Commissioner Miller.
So if we vote yes on this motion, then we're agreeing to the $3,500 for professional?
Up to 3,500.
Up to? But-
Yes,
But we are
yes,
agreeing with that.
yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? As long as we're talking about goal setting, let me just again thank former Commissioner Bill Lynn for all the years that he did what he did for free. And he certainly moved the commission forward. And, you know, just the amount of time he spent in preparation and diligence. I'm sorry, that's Bill Munsell. Yeah, Bill Munsell. I think I've done it before, but yeah, Bill, exemplary commissioner, and gave his time freely, and he still continues to do that for the community. So we really appreciate that. Just want to make that a statement again. So with that, anyone else? Okay, roll call, please.
Commissioner Baker?
Yes.
Commissioner Collins?
Yes.
Commissioner Gary?
Yes.
Commissioner Miller?
No.
Commissioner Talentino?
Yes.
Commissioner Twardy?
Yes.
Mayor Bosmas?
Yes. Motion carried. Thank you.
Item 2, under the city manager's report, would provide authorization for a service provider agreement with the Sioux Area Convention and Visitors Bureau for public outreach and engagement. As commissioners are aware, an integral component of citizen service is ensuring the community participates, is consulted, is informed, and maintains access to the governance process. Effective community participation enables the city to receive diverse perspectives and potential solutions to improve the quality of decisions and strive for and achieve excellence in customer service. Promoting the city to external audiences is also critical to providing information about the city in an authentic and transparent manner. In order to promote such engagement, the city approached the Sioux Area Convention and Visitors Bureau regarding a collaboration through which both parties could financially support a public outreach and engagement specialist position. More specifically, an individual filling this position would perform services important to both parties. The position would be created by the CVB, and the city could enter into a contractual agreement with the CVB in order to receive approximately 10 to 15 hours of service per week. An individual filling this position would make roughly $14.50 per hour and work a total of 20 to 25 hours per week for the benefit of both the city and the CVB. For the city, services received would include the production of educational and marketing materials highlighting city operations and services, attendance at events which include city participation for educational and promotional purposes, coordination with existing efforts to engage and educate the public through social media, and related services. This arrangement could serve to complement the work that will be undertaken by the recreational coordinator to promote parks and recreation. It is expected that the work produced through this arrangement for the city would be directed by the city manager and deputy city manager, with the deputy manager retaining authority over the city's social media accounts. In total, the city and CVB have projected that an initial budget of approximately $22,000 would be required for filling such a position. It is proposed that the CVB contribute $14,600 toward the position, with the city contributing $7,400 as well as office space, being the former Human Resources Director's office on the 3rd floor of City Hall, to the CVB for supporting this post through the included services agreement. Funding for the city could be derived from the existing budget, which would have supported a continuation of the services agreement with Sioux Events. This agreement is not expected currently to be renewed with the departure of Mary Jo Duvall. Importantly, if approved, the city and CVB intend to review this position for future expansion into full-time employment should it prove to be beneficial to the needs of both organizations and the community. Accordingly, it would be my recommendation the City Commission authorize the city manager to execute the included services agreement with the Sioux Area Convention and Visitors Bureau and authorize a corresponding budget amendment in an amount not to exceed $3,700 for the remainder of the current fiscal year and $3,700 for the first 6 months of the 1920 fiscal year. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Baker, you have a question?
Yeah, question for the city manager. I know we were looking for a marketing firm. We had put that out there for Parks and Rec and the facilities. Where do we stand with that? Or is this it?
Right, that's a great question, Commissioner. Thank you for that. This proposal is a specific post which would be filled by the CVB. This would be more oriented towards social media and distributing information regarding city services. The marketing proposal, the events proposal, which was circulated for facilities such as the Puller, the ball fields, would be separate. That is proposing request from entities that may wish to hold events at those facilities in order to generate revenue. We have not received any responses to that request for proposals as of yet, but we're still marketing it on the city website.
Okay.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Commissioner Gary.
Question for the city attorney. I serve on the Sioux Area Convention and Visitors Bureau Board, so I'm assuming I should refrain from any comment or vote on this matter.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Twardy.
Yeah, thank you. I think this is great collaboration with the Convention and Visitors Bureau. One of the things that I think we've all been talking about over the last year is our presence on social media, and I know that the city clerk's office is so busy doing a multitude of other things that they do not have time to keep up with social media, which can be a full-time job. So, and I know that the CVB is very, very good at your social media presence. So I think this is a great idea. Who better to work with than Linda Hoth, who knows how to get stuff done. And it's great to be able to get information, correct information, out into the community.
Would you like to make a motion?
Sure. I'll make a motion to authorize the city manager to execute the included services agreement with the CVB and authorize a corresponding budget amendment in an amount not to exceed $3,700 for the remainder of 2018-19 fiscal year and $3,700 for the first 6 months of the 1920 fiscal year.
Support. It's been moved, supported. Are there any questions? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Collins?
Yes.
Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Commissioner Talentino?
Yes.
Commissioner Twardy?
Yes.
Mayor Bosmas?
Yes.
Commissioner Baker?
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Item 3 under the city manager's report would provide authorization to solicit public input regarding bridge service modifications. As commissioners are aware, city administration has been working closely with the Chippewa-Loos-Mackinac Community Action Agency and the International Bridge Administration over the course of the past 12 to 15 months to maximize the impact of the International Bridge Bus. As indicated previously, this service depends upon a high degree of collaboration involving project partners. For example, the City Bridge Administration and MDOT have each contributed an annual cash subsidy to support the service ranging from $14,700 to $17,100 over the course of the past 6 fiscal years. In fiscal year 17, the total expense for operating the service was approximately just under $127,000. This was funded through the cash subsidies of the referenced partners, state transportation funding, federal funding, and rider fares. In addition to these revenues, the Bridge Administration also authorizes the bridge bus to cross the International Bridge free of charge at a value of roughly $55,000 per year currently. These contributions are significant commitments made to join the Twin Sioux through reliable transportation service with the potential to benefit residents and stakeholders in both communities. Despite earnest efforts to maximize the impact of the bridge bus, figures for fiscal year 18 showed a further drop in ridership on the order of approximately 23%, with the 23% figure being between fiscal year 13 and fiscal year 17. Looking back further, it should be noted that ridership in fiscal year 2008 was just over 7,000, representing a decrease of almost 56% in ridership since that time. It is theorized this drop in ridership has resulted from enhanced security measures being implemented at the border crossing, an increasing tendency for people to purchase products online, and a decrease in Canadian residents crossing the border to attend classes at LSSU among other possible factors. In any event, it is clear that the operating model for the bridge bus requires modification to a more cost-effective and logical structure. Following a close examination of the service, Community Action and City Administration are proposing the following changes to the existing model pending public feedback. First, that the future procurement and use of vans rather than buses be implemented, which would decrease the value of the tolls waived by the Bridge Administration from the current level of roughly $55,000 per year to under $15,000 per year, while almost certainly generating savings on vehicle maintenance, fuel, and other operational needs. Second, the restructuring of the existing 12-hour service running from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. to an 8-hour service running from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. between Monday and Friday, which would reduce operating cost by an estimated $40,000 per year. Third, eliminating Saturday service, which would reduce operating cost by an estimated $16,000 per year. And fourth, renaming the model to the International Bridge Service, as the use of buses will be phased out. As a result of the proposed changes, it is projected that roughly $56,000 in cash costs and $40,000 in subsidized bridge tolls would be eliminated. As noted with the included memo prepared by Community Action Transportation Director Anita Benson, who joined us tonight, these potential modifications have been based on ridership information. More specifically, this information shows that during the last full fiscal year, only 307 individuals rode the International Bridge Bus after 4 p.m. On many days, no one rode the bus after 4 p.m. Similarly, a total of 412 people rode the bus on Saturdays during the last full fiscal year, which averages to 7 riders each Saturday. This includes a number of Saturdays for which total ridership did not exceed 2 persons. Possible modifications would represent an earnest effort to continue the delivery of the service in a cost-effective manner that reduces the existing level of subsidization. It is important to emphasize these changes represent a natural evolution in how the service is delivered within the context of the multitude of changes that have occurred in the local transportation sector in the past decade. Many stakeholders remain invested in this service and interested in yielding its maximum impact. Concurrently, the project partners should expect that cash subsidies will decrease as such changes are implemented and should expect the delivery model will adapt to meet a reduced ridership demand. Given the extent of the proposed changes to the service, it is recommended a 30-day comment period be established to receive public feedback regarding possible modifications. If such a public comment period is established by the City Commission, its anticipated feedback would be reviewed by the City, Community Action, and the Bridge Administration in February, with the results being presented to the City Commission during the February 18th regular meeting or the first meeting in March of 2019. Should any such modifications be made to the service, it would be the recommendation of City Administration that they become effective on April 1st, 2019, in order to provide further notification to the public and to initiate changes at the halfway point for the federal 2019 fiscal year. Accordingly, it would be my recommendation that the City Commission authorize City Administration to solicit public feedback for a 30-day period of time regarding possible modifications to the existing bridge service model as provided by Chippewa, Luce, Mackinac Community Action Agency on behalf of the city. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Twardy?
I'm wondering, I need to ask the city attorney a
Sure.
question. I sit on the Community Action Agency Board of Directors. I'm wondering if I should abstain from discussion and vote.
I think it would be best.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, thank you for the report. Let's go to Commissioner Talentino.
Yeah, I think this is something that we really need to take a look at. I keep reading these reports and I'm seeing that the numbers keep going down and down annually on the crossing. So I'd like to make a motion to authorize the city administration to solicit feedback for 30 days prior to the time regarding proposed modifications to the existing bridge service model as provided by Chippewa, Luce, Mackinac Community Action Agency.
Support.
It's been moved, supported. Are there any questions? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Gary,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Talentino,
Yes.
Mayor Bosmas,
Yes.
Commissioner Baker,
Yes.
Commissioner Collins.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you.
And item 4 under the city manager's report would provide for the creation of an ad hoc committee to evaluate regulating vaping by minors. As commissioners are aware, Sioux Area Public Schools Superintendent Dr. Tim Hall presented to the City Commission during the December 3rd, 2018 regular meeting on a request for the school system, from the school system for the city to develop and adopt an ordinance to prohibit the sale or furnishing to minors and the use or possession by minors of alternative nicotine or vapor products through electronic cigarettes. According to Dr. Hall, Sioux Area Public School System has witnessed a significant increase in vaping by minors and students. Subsequent to this presentation, Sioux Area Public Schools has engaged in further dialogue with Chippewa County and City Administration on this matter and remains interested in pursuing the development and adoption of such an ordinance. Dr. Teresa Kallstrom, Superintendent of JKL Bewading Public School Academy, has also expressed an interest in dialoguing with the city on the topic. In order for the city to effectively dialogue with school systems and complete further due diligence on this issue, it may be prudent for the City Commission to appoint no more than 3 commissioners to serve on an ad hoc committee tasked with engaging local schools on this topic. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, let's go to, anybody have any questions? For the vaping, we need a couple of people who'd like to have questions. Commissioner Torrey.
Yeah, what sort of lead is the Chippewa County Board of Commissioners taking on this? Are they taking any lead, or is there discussion happening?
City Manager.
Myself, the police chief, and the city attorney attended in December a meeting at the Chippewa County Legislative Liaison Committee, and at that committee there was extended discussion on this topic, and out of that meeting the Board of Commissioners took action to make this something that they approach state leadership about in terms of seeking for this to be regulated on a statewide basis, perhaps.
Okay. I guess only because I think it would be really difficult for us to set down a city ordinance if it's not a county-wide ordinance, especially because the school is the system of the county and the city. There just tends to be a little bit of gray area there, in my opinion. Not that I don't agree with an ordinance being created. I'm just kind of concerned about, with it being Chippewa County Public Schools, City of Sault Ste. Marie vaping ordinance, is that kind of, is that, I mean, does that seem like it would hold water, basically?
That's a great question, and to my understanding, an ordinance adopted by the city would apply only to the schools inside of the city limits. There are other communities, cities that are adopting ordinances, perhaps without action being taken without the surrounding counties. So this is an issue that the city attorney has researched, and he may wish to speak to that further, but it's my understanding an ordinance could be adopted by the city specific to the city limits if it's so desired.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, do we have a couple of commissioners that would like to be, I don't think we have to go with 3 commissioners, maybe 2 would be sufficient. Is there a, pardon? Commissioner Baker.
Why can't, because there's smoking ordinances, correct, at the schools? Why isn't this lumped in with that? It's nicotine, right, correct? So I'm just kind of confused as to why this is kind of, seems a little bit more difficult than it needs to be.
I see the city attorney reaching for his microphone, and I may defer to his expertise.
This activity, according to the schools, is prohibited on school grounds. Whether it's nicotine or not, the act of vaping is prohibited on school grounds, and if a child is caught vaping on school grounds, or I imagine in possession of vaping paraphernalia on school grounds, the school has a multi-step punishment process that they take based on, you know, first offense, second offense, third offense, that type of thing. What the school was looking for is the city and the county to make it a punishable offense in court, so that besides school punishment, that you might receive suspensions, I can't even, I'd have to ask the mayor, he was the school superintendent. When they throw you out and won't let you back in, what's that called? Expulsion.
Yeah, expulsion.
Besides those penalties, and perhaps other ones that the schools might do, like, require you to do extra work or something like that, they wanted court prosecution potential as a way to further bring home to the children the error of their ways. So that's where this came up. As you know, the Michigan legislature has been looking at this to try and decide if there's going to be any statewide activity. And so far, the Michigan legislature has not chosen to do that. Whether that happens in this legislative session or not, your guess is as good as mine. But if the city alone had an ordinance on it, kids coming into town to play ball from Rudyard would not be apprised of that, perhaps. And by walking into the city limits for a basketball game or a football game in Sault Ste. Marie, they get in trouble. Whereas it would be perfectly legitimate for them to do that in Rudyard. So the idea was, well, if we do it countywide, at least we pick up the entire school district, because the school district, as you know, goes outside the boundaries of Sault Ste. Marie. So they approached the county, and there were county meetings, as the city manager indicated to you, and the county is going to take further action on it, I think, in February. They were waiting to talk to our state representatives and senator to see what the state might do, because it only makes sense, I think, that any vaping rules and regulations be the same across the state, because as students move for athletic events between different schools, you could have a St. Ignace kid coming up here for an athletic event, even if we had a countywide ordinance, and getting in trouble for something that you don't get in trouble for in St. Ignace. So that's what I know about it.
Commissioner Baker, you still have the floor.
So, in your opinion, would it be safer to wait to see what the state does, similar to the marijuana situation, how things aren't set in place? Because if we make some sort of ordinance regarding this now, would we have to change it if the state comes up with something different? So,
absolutely.
Okay. So
absolutely, you would have to change it to come up with something different. And I'd like to point out to you that nicotine's not the issue. It's not the issue. It's vaping itself that the schools want to prohibit, because with vaping you may ingest perhaps things that are worse than nicotine. That's their point. But almost impossible for the city to do a chemical analysis on what someone is vaping or not vaping. Therefore, to prove things, you have to prove them in court. So you would never have a vaping ordinance that focused on nicotine. It would have to be just vaping. Yeah.
Okay. Commissioner Gary?
So this committee then would be a liaison to kind of work with the county as well as the schools to get information to bring back, or what's the intent of the committee at this point?
City manager?
Thank you, Commissioner. As it was presented, the intent would be to work directly with Sioux Area Public Schools as well as JKL. However, at the Commission's discretion, the committee and participation from the city could also be structured to engage with the county on this issue as well.
And this issue has the support of every school district in our area, correct?
Correct.
So I think we owe it to them to at least listen, so I'd volunteer to be on the committee.
Okay. Commissioner Twardy?
I'll volunteer also.
Oh, okay. So we have 2 volunteers. Anyone else like to volunteer?
I would.
Okay. So we have 3 volunteers. Okay. Okay, we have 3 volunteers, so we need a motion. Commissioner Talentino?
I'd like to make a motion to put Commissioner Miller, Twardy, and Gary on the liaison or committee for the vaping issues.
Support.
It's been moved, supported. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you very much.
That concludes the published items under the city manager's report. Before concluding the report, just wanted to compliment the employees of the Department of Public Works for their hard work efforts over the past week or two with the inclement weather. With the new equipment that has been authorized by the City Commission, the services have been continuously strengthened over the winter season, from sidewalk snow plowing to street maintenance, and we're very proud of their diligence and efforts.
Yeah, without a question. And I see them removing snow on different parts of the Ashland area, Portage area today, and I'm sure that will continue as we try and get rid of the huge amount of snowfall that we had. I think it was 14 inches or so in the city, and piles up when it's really blowing too. So kudos to them for sure. Okay. Item H is a status report.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 1 under status reports is an update regarding the rental registration review and process. As a reminder, the annual rental registration renewal forms have been recently mailed out for approximately 850 registered rental properties within the city. Included with the mailings to each of the owners is a request for feedback on the draft questions for the community survey the City Commission reviewed during its December 3rd meeting and requested be released for feedback. The questions have been uploaded to the city's website and placed on the homepage. A special email address, survey@saultcity.com, has been created for the purposes of collecting the responses. Initially, it's indicated the public has until January 15th, tomorrow at 5 p.m. to submit comments, but if comments come in a few days later, we certainly welcome the feedback. As a related follow-up, during the December 3rd meeting, mention was made by a member of the public regarding a landlord advisory board in Mount Pleasant, to which city administration indicated it would research and follow up. Administration reached out to the organization and was connected with the assistant fire chief. In the pursuing conversations, the city learned that Mount Pleasant does have an active landlord association which exists entirely independent of the city. On an as-needed basis, the city does present before the association on program changes or other items of mutual interest. Outside of such occasions, the city does not attend the association meetings on a regular basis. In addition, the assistant chief stated that the landlord association does not play a role in the day-to-day activities of administering Mount Pleasant's rental regulations. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else?
Nothing further, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay.
Concludes the status report section.
Okay. Item I, matters presented by the public. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to make a comment at this time? Okay, hearing none, we'll go on to the City Commission item number J. Let me just start off by, this is a meeting that should have occurred last Monday, so we had to postpone it to this Monday because of the weather that we were getting. So certainly the 350th anniversary of the city concluded with a ball drop on New Year's Eve. Again, thanks to the Sioux events, certainly Mary Jo Duvall through the year, and then as she moved on near the end of the 350th Convention and Visitors Bureau, Linda Hoth and her cadre, along with Justin Knepper and Josh Billington. There's all kinds of people that you could name out there, but it wouldn't go on without those volunteers, and we certainly appreciate the efforts. Fast year, activity-wise, and understanding, talking to Linda Hoth, 2019 is going to be another banner year, along with all the activity that we have, with the good news that we have with the different grants and stuff that we've been fortunate to get. So it's going to be a very busy 2019 and certainly 2018. Just like to wrap that up with a comment. Just a great time, a lot of activity, and a good celebration. Also today, I'd like to congratulate the Sioux Tribe of Chippewa Indian Board of Directors, certainly the staff, and especially the EDC, Tribal EDC Director, Joel Schultz. They opened 3 new businesses in the former American Cafe. Those businesses are all tribal-owned entities. Jetta Corporation, folks are from Neenah, Wisconsin. Linda Groh, who grew up here in Sault Ste. Marie, and her husband Tom, who didn't grow up here, but they opened a business in that particular building. They're called Jetta Corporation. Tipping Point Solutions, Rick Schmidt. He is originally from Colorado. And Kingdom Key Real Estate, Michelle LeDuc, who is a former Sioux person, grew up here over on, I believe it was a magazine or one of those areas there on the west side of town. Michelle owns Kingdom Key Real Estate, and she's now in Macomb County, and they've opened up the real estate business here in the Sioux. So the former American Cafe, which doesn't look anything like the old cafe. If you ever get a chance just to go through it, it's well done. Tremendous. Tries to be commended for the aggressiveness and just a tip of the iceberg, we think, on what can possibly go on in the coming years for the ability to keep young students here, our younger generation here, hopefully, finding work and living in this community. So, our hats off to them. Commissioner Twardy.
Thank you. Just a couple of things. One is, I know we're a week later, and so last Monday this would have been fresh information, but I just wanted to say congratulations to Lake Superior State University Hockey, who won the Great Lakes Invitational for the first time in quite some time, right?
First time ever.
First time ever, okay. And they did pair up against another great UP school, Michigan Tech University, but it was pretty clear to see who really was controlling the puck that entire game. It was a great game. Lake State looked fantastic. They looked super strong, so we'll wish them a great season.
And that was the only fourth time they had been there, so.
Awesome.
They won it.
Good for them.
Yeah.
And then another great event that's happening this weekend. I've seen a great outpouring of support in this community, and anytime, I mean, we just have a great community, and I know with all the government shutdowns and all the furlough and the amount of employees that are really facing hard challenges right now, there have been a lot of businesses coming out and supporting it, but the owners of the Sioux Eagles have decided that this Saturday night during their game, they want to invite all federal employees who are having a hard time right now, free entry into the game, not only for you, but also for your entire family. You will receive a free hot dog, free drink, and I think a free popcorn. So we'll be posting that on social media, but really great thing that the owners of the Sioux Eagles are doing, and just pay attention to what your city is offering you, because there's a lot of really great, heartwarming stories out there. So
Great. Anyone else? Commissioner Baker?
Well, I got a few things I just want to mention. Lots of events coming up in the upcoming months. I love that the I-500 is only 2 weeks away. That's like the midpoint. Helps to get out of the winter funk, I feel like, because right after that, St. Patty's Day, and then summer's not too far from there. But you got the Kinross Classic coming up. It's a dog sled race, January 26th and 27th. It's out at the Kinross Rec Center. They're featuring kid and mutt races. It's going to be pretty cool. The Chippewa County Community Foundation, the YAC committee, they're going to be doing a Winter Olympics downtown the same weekend. The ice festival is going on. So make sure that's always a fun event. I know they have some new things planned this year to incorporate in that, so make sure you check that out the weekend of the 26th. And then also, of course, the I-500 that's coming up, which is my favorite event in Sault Ste. Marie, and I think one of the things that I'm most proud of to say it's all volunteer-based, and they're always looking for volunteers. So if you want to help out and be a part of the coolest thing in Sault Ste. Marie, go to the I-500 Facebook page, reach out to them, and they'll let you know when you can help. It's just right around the corner.
Okay. Commissioner Baker is also the liaison to the I-500 group again this year, so again, yeah, we got one more meeting before the I-500. We'll kick that off. We got the snow that I think we need, and the cold air is not too far away. It's been here. I'm sure it's coming back. So I see the track starting to get iced, and look for a great crowd this year too. Anyone else? Okay, let's go to Commissioner Gary.
I see that one of the owners of one of the companies, too, had said that he had served in the Coast Guard here at Sault Ste. Marie. So good experiences in this town do come back and pay dividends in the long run. I make a motion we adjourn.
support.
Okay, move support. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you very much. We are adjourned.